Okay, morning. God, I woke up this morning, the sun was shining, turned on my radio, and there was Margaret Hodge just talking this very calm, cold venom into the radio. And she wasn't just on once either, she was on repeatedly. And there was absolutely no contradiction to the nonsense that she's talking. And what kind of gets me is it almost feels now like the leadership have just given up contradicting any of this stuff. And I'm going to recall to you a conversation I have with a member of the leadership, who I won't disclose his name at the moment because, I don't do that. And he said to me, Jackie, in the future, when we get into the leadership, all the pressure will come from the right. All the pressure will come from the right. And at that point, it's up to you, and he was talking to a group of us, up to you to put pressure the other way. And some of us said, well, we're not going to have many resources for that. And he said, at that point, you have to become the leadership. You have to speak for the leaders. And that's what we're going to be doing. And that's what I call on everybody to do now. Speak for that leadership. So we start the day with Margaret Hodge, who, if you recall, didn't get suspended or admonished because, I don't know why, because she's a member of the Parliamentary Labour Party, and for some reason, which many of us can perhaps surmise, there's some kind of protection going on there, because I'm then going to go on to Siobhan McDonough, yesterday, you remember, who basically said you can't criticise capitalists because if you do, then that's anti-Semitic. An astounding statement to make. So deeply racist, so deeply anti-Semitic. Now, I actually know that there have been some formal complaints put into the Labour Party about her. Not by me, by the way. I've given up on that. I've made 5 or so complaints to the Labour Party, most of which have not even been acknowledged, yet alone responded to. And I'm a bit busy at the moment getting ready for my my very fair and even-handed hearing, which of course will be mine as right as a member of the Labour Party. But anyway, not only has she not been in any way admonished, but today, and I'll post this onto my page in a minute, or yesterday should I say, she then started using her lack of knowledge to criticise me and other people like me. Now, can you actually imagine this? I mean, if it wasn't sad, it would be an actual joke. Now, the other thing that we were told at the time, apart from the fact that we should become the leadership, is that this would be the point when we would need a mass grassroots organisation to defend the leadership. Now, we know what's happened to that, because John Lansman has that. And people say, well, you can change it. You can't, actually, because John Lansman became chair of Momentum, apart from the fact that he owns the database. So if you didn't have John, you wouldn't have the database. But he became chair because he had an automatic place on the executive body, the NCG of Momentum, as a representative of an organisation that has 2 people in it, one of whom is him, and then the NCG voted for him to be chair. So what has happened, and we've got to be absolutely clear about this, is one of the essential tools of us defending ourselves, because we knew we wouldn't get justice in the mainstream media, and we knew the establishment would be after us. We knew all that has been actually taken away from us. And can I just tell you the damage which John Lansman has done to this attempt at radical change? Most people don't even know yet. Most people haven't even yet got a handle on what he has done to damage this and to damage race relations. Interesting though, isn't it, that we have exactly the same thing happening in America now against the Democrats, and they are using exactly the same tactics, and goodness me, it's against a woman of colour. Now you would think that people, particularly people on the left, people on the supposed left, and commentators, yes, somebody's put up the AWL. Well, I can barely put them up as being on the left. They are so disgusting in the kind of strategies that they hold on to. They're not the kind of people that I would want to consider as being on the left. But back to the US. In the US, this is now happening, and they are using exactly the same tactics. Exactly the same tactics. Now you'd think somebody might say, wow, this is extraordinary. We have two different countries, we have different political systems, and yet we have the same strategies being used. And people might actually start to ask questions, but unfortunately, not enough of them too. And then I want to finish with my little own thought for the day. What does it mean being a Jew? Because what you notice, and it's wonderful, is that this process is one of Jew production and Jew destruction. Jews are made in part of this process. So, for example, Joan Ryan, who of course is not a Jew, and people should understand that, even though I believe the deputy leader pointed to what was happening to her as anti-Semitism. But Joan Ryan is largely talked about as being a Jew. And the interesting thing on the other side is that Jews who are pro-Corbyn then have their Jewish identity taken away from them. And this, again, brings it right down to the nuts and bolts of the affair. Because what they are saying is, unless you support capitalism, unless you support Israel, remember Israel, the UN have just said they think should be done for war crimes. This is Israel who have, according to many in South Africa, a system of racial separation very separate, very similar to what they have. Unless you agree with Tony Blair and the newspapers, unless you agree that the Labour Party is institutionally racist not against blacks, not against Muslims, but against Jews. Unless you believe that, you're not a Jew. Now, what the fuck has this got to do with whether you're a Jew or not? Are you actually telling us that Jews, unless they speak in one way, are not Jews? Because I just want to remind people that if that is what people are saying, then that's anti-Semitic. Because Jews, like everybody else, have different opinions. And Jews, by the way, come in lots and lots of different colours. And many of them are not Ashkenazi. And many Jews, I have to be careful with that word, many Jews do not believe that Israel is an intrinsic part of their identity. And however big or small that group is, we have a right to be heard. And we have a right for our identity to be acknowledged. And I think there are too many in the Labour Party and in Momentum at the moment who are not defending the right of the most oppressed Jews in the Labour Party, and that's Corbyn supporting Jews. Okay, well, today, sun's shining, I'm with my solicitor, all running towards the 26th of March, where, like I say, I'm absolutely sure, even though the Tribune group of MPs have already posted a parliamentary letter saying I've been expelled from the Labour Party for racism, even though I've been called out in Parliament, even though the smears and the abuse continues in and outside Parliament, I'm absolutely sure that even though The Labour Party have been told by Jewish community groups that if I'm not expelled, they will see that as crossing a red line. I am absolutely positive of what the outcome will be. Okay, bye, thank you.